Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Redseapodcast to what is numerically episode 61, but what also is a more special episode of the show because it's an episode dedicated to not a game but a special review of a historic year regarding a special someone to this club. Of course, a year ago today, we announced Jose Luis Mendilibar as our coach, and I think the phrase that's most fitting here is that the rest is history. After that, don't expect anything professional regarding the recap. For those of you who are new, and I do want to start the show off by saying welcome. For those of you from my end already that don't know, I had the honor to be a guest on the Olympiacos podcast and talk about the amazing double week that Olympiacos PC had, and the guest appearance on the OnlyFans podcast gave me 20 subs, which is insane. So, to the 20 of you, and maybe more that will come from Soto's channel to mine, welcome. As I said there, this show is in English mostly. I can speak Greek, some episodes will be in Greek, εννοείται Έλληνας είμαι. But the point of the show isn't to just connect the Greek fans together, it's to give all the Olympiacos fans a platform to speak their mind freely and without judgment. And the main, one more of the main points of the show, I'd say, is to bring more people to the Olympiacos family. But for example, the many Aston Villa fans that have decided to support me and this whole endeavor massively and have started following Olympiacos. So yeah, hope you all enjoy the ride. This family is just gonna keep getting bigger and bigger, and I'm glad to have you along. I really couldn't be happier to have you all along. And for those of you to finish this small parenthesis off, for those of you that have not managed to go ahead and see my guest appearance on the Olifants podcast, I will make sure to try at least and remember leaving a link down below. But all of you can look it up on YouTube. It's on my profile. It's everywhere. Do go check the channel out and do subscribe. The least I can do is give Sotoback something compared to the insane exposure and chance that I got from him. To finish up the the shameless promo and go to the important stuff of this show, do follow what the banner says. If you're not on YouTube and you're listening to this on audio, every social of mine is down in the description, both on here and in the Spotify description of every episode. The socials are there. If you want to interact with me, the best platforms are Instagram and Twitter. But of course, feel free to like and subscribe if you like what you see here and leave comments whether you are listening to this now or afterwards. Whether you are on Spotify, you can leave comments on Spotify as well, or here. Everyone's welcome. And as I said to the new boys that joined me from my guest appearance on Soto Show, I'm welcoming everyone with more than open arms since you all are giving me the chance of a lifetime, to be honest. So, yeah, let's get into this. There is a question in the chat. Uh, First of all, the thing that's in the chat is the link. There is a link in the chat for you to join me. There is a link in the chat in most of my solo shows for you to hop on and share your opinion on anything and everything you may want. And there is a question in the chat about what is your favorite moment from Mendilibar's first historic year here, even though I think I know what answer is gonna be the majority and mine as well. And even if you're listening to this after, feel free to leave your favorite moment down below. And why? Tell me why. Even if it is the Conference League win, tell me why that's your favorite moment because everyone has their reasons. And I was gonna take it from the top, but let's just get into the self-evident thing that nothing does beat the Conference League in what was supposed to be arguably one of the club's worst seasons, if not the worst. Nothing will ever beat that. As much as some Panathinaikos fans especially want to downplay the Conference League win, it was history for the club. It was a historic night for all of us. I had the pleasure to be down at the Motico Theatre and celebrate that win with 11,000 fans. Uh, I'm pretty sure we were around 11K at least. Uh, and just a night that was just so surreal that every Olympiacos fan celebrates every 29th of the month like it's a national holiday. And as we should, honestly. And it wasn't only history for the club, of course. It was history for Greece as well, because not only was this the first European trophy that any Greek, on a club level, of course, has brought home, but it also has been a massive help in skyrocketing Greece back up the rankings and putting them in the hand for once again after 12 years, correct me if I'm wrong, for the top 10 and more or less solidifying them in the top 12 after what felt like an endless lackluster performance from the national team and clubs in Europe in general, aside us for many years. Breeze, I'm already getting so passionate about this. Uh, of course, we can't forget the UEFA Youth League, but that's a whole different story. This is about Mendilibar and Mendilibar alone. I should honestly do a separate episode about Silaidopoulos, but that's a whole different story and a whole different chapter that does genuinely deserve its own time. Taking it from the top, the first game that Mendilibar did manage was, of course, the 1-0 win against Ferencvaros. Mendy taking over a club that was in free fall, I think it's safe to say, having changed so many coaches and so many players in such little time. The club was in absolute chaos. We didn't know if any serious coach would take the job. And why would they? Honestly, like no one could blame anyone for denying this job in the state the club had been in for such a long time. And then we learn that we are signing a Spaniard that has come here after a wondrous, I dare to say, Europa League win with Sevilla. A Spaniard that did coach his team in the Carrascatis in the Super Cup the same year, and a Spaniard that got sacked and came here in a recommendation from the legendary Ernesto Valverde. Two very good friends. I feel like that helped in trusting Mendilibar from the top. And again, I feel like I, yeah, ναι, όντως. Βάσκος, my shame on me. Shame on me. But the point still stands. No one knew. No one could guess what was going to happen. And as Mendy came in, he got thrown in the deep with a European game as we picked up a narrow victory over Ferencvaros. And then we went to Tuba. We went to Tuba in a game that always has been tough for new managers, dare I say. We went to Tuba in a game that was crucial, as is every derby, and we spunked up PAOK 1-4. And then an absolute frenzy. Spunked up PAOK, and what a start that was. Again, for a club that was in absolute chaos before Mendilibar. Then we beat Ferencvaros and qualify, following up by wins against Asteras, Panetolikos, and Volos. And I think it's the safest thing to say that it was a hot start, a very hot start, and then the Maccabi game. The Maccabi game where we lost 1-4 in here. The Maccabi game that felt like a crash landing back to reality after a while. That stopped a hot streak of a club that was absolutely ecstatic to show what they could do. The Maccabi game that I remember vividly, given I was there. And yeah, everyone was just left in questions after that. People believed. But I think it would be safe to say that common logic said that that was it for Olympiacos' European journey. It ended there with Maccabi show in the Karaiskakis. And then to top that off, we go and lose to Panathinaikos in the first game of the playoffs 1-3. And then was the away game against Tel Aviv. The away game that, if I'm not completely mistaken, was played in Serbia. Correct me if I'm wrong, once again. The away game that some people went there. I think the tickets that got sold were about 70 to 90. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, whether you're watching this after or not. And a game that decided half our season. Going in there with nothing to lose, having lost 1-4 at home, and going in there with still, despite the two big losses that had happened previously, going in there to with, I'd say, a very positive mindset regarding the circumstances. And we all know what followed. One of the biggest comebacks, scoreline wise, in Europe. One of the most surprising games ever, especially of the season. Arguably the most surprising game of the season. And the 1-6 win, accompanied by one of the best goals Ayoub El Gabi has scored with the red and white. That bicycle kick, I think, will never be forgotten, at least not by me. And once again, the frenzy kicked right back up, having pulled off such an insane comeback. Everyone was celebrating. Mendilibar, I think, wrote his name in history as a legend even from that game, and everyone couldn't wait for what was going to happen. And I think it was at that point where people started to truly believe that we could see something amazing that season. Following that game, we would go on to lose to Ike 1-0, which I dare say didn't really bother many. Of course, the goal was from Niklas Eliasson very late on. But again, I think that everyone was on such a high from the Maccabi game that all eyes were on Europe. Of course, the league uh, was still our main goal, because who could have thought? But of course, the league was still our main goal, as it always should be. But I think the fans' focus was elsewhere. Then, few days later, would go on to beat Aris 3-0, spunk up Lamia 1-5, and then it was the Fenerbahce game. Fenerbahce, who would undoubtedly prove to be a challenge, and I don't think anyone sat there and said that we'd beat them comfortably, even before the game. I'd say that no one really sat there and said that we'd beat them comfortably. And yet, we opened the score at the 8th minute with Kostas Fortounis. Then, 32nd minute comes, Stefan Jovetic makes it 2, and then Chiquinho makes it 3 at the 57th. And we stand 60 minutes in, 3-0 up. And everyone, more or less, sat there and said that, holy fuck, we're actually gonna do this. And then the penalty happened. Fener win a relatively stupid penalty. Dusan Tadic, of course, converts it. And then Kalechi makes it 3-2. And the game ends. In what, in most people's eyes, would have been a very comfortable game turned into a thriller. And just a week after we go to Fener, we go play in Turkey, where Kavechi scores. Kavechi. I'm really sorry if I'm butchering this name. I never quite got it right. Uh, Scores very early, and the game ends like that. And we go on to pens. And the new legend was officially born there. Of course, Kostas Jolakis did start at the historic comeback, the away game against Maccabi, with the Paschalakis disaster class being overlooked by him claiming injury. Uh, and then Jolakis starts. We win. And then Jolakis stays in the starting 11. And going into Fener, Jolakis shows that he won't leave that starting 11 again. As the penalties go, Ayub scores. Then Dusan Tadic steps up. Dusan, who is a wonderful penalty taker, Jolakis saves it. Then El Arabi's penalty gets saved. Then Batshuayi scores. Then Orta steps up, scores. Then Cengiz Under steps up. Jolakis saves it. Masouras converts. Dziku converts. Rodinei misses. And then Leonardo Bonucci steps up if Jolakis saves the penalty of one of the most, I'd say, one of the best penalty takers in football's recent history. We're through. Bonucci shoots an absolute rocket, and Jolakis saves. Celebrations are insane. There is a photo that's absolutely legendary. I still use it. You all know what I'm talking about. Surely you all know what I'm talking about. And I think at that moment we knew that, not we knew, because most of us knew already, but we got confirmed that Cholakis is something so special. And then we go and beat Pauk in the Karaskakis, draw with Aris, spunk up Lamia once again, and then the dreaded day away at Villa Park. Villa Park, the game that I don't think any of us thought that would go the way it did. All of us were proud as all fuck that the team had gotten to where it did. A lot of us were positive that since we got to where we did, we could put up a solid fight against Aston Villa. But Aston Villa was Aston Villa. I still remember watching this game. And I remember how insane I went, ask my girlfriend. We were watching it together, ask my girlfriend how fucking nuts I went. So, game kicks off. Everyone is at the edge of their seats, as usual. 16 minutes go by. Ayub is through. And Ayub scores. And it's 1-0. And Ayub continues his historic season. And now we're more hopeful than ever with Mkabi scoring. Another 13 minutes go by. El Khabi is through again. And El Khabi makes it 2-0. And now everyone's going absolutely batshit crazy because we're 2-0 up at Villa Park. And holy fuck, a European final is in our grasp. And then, of course, Ollie Watkins reminds us of who he is right before the half and scores making it 1-2, and hitting the Kalma celebration. The Kalma celebration that has historically not fired back at all. Uh, and that's a funny story. Um, Me and my girlfriend were watching this game at the center of Athens at a cafe. We were outside with many Olympiacos fans. It was us Olympiacos fans and my girlfriend who is an Nike fan, but that's a different story. Uh, and there was one guy that was absolutely fucking hammered, hammered to the brim, and not necessarily every play, but every goal. This man stood up, went in the middle of the road, started hopping around and screaming. And I just want to say that I would have done the same, but I stayed in my chair and was screaming my absolute lungs out. Again, live witness is in the chat. Continuing on from that, uh, 52nd minute, Moussa Diaby scores, tying up the game, and then everyone was breathing again, saying that what a fight, maybe we can get in one more. And then Ayub El Kabay scores a European hat trick in Villa Park 4 minutes after Moussa Diaby's goal. And to finish it all off, not even 15 minutes after, 11 minutes after El Kabay's goal, uh, Santi Esse makes it to 4. And in the 84th minute, a penalty happens. And then we're all like, God damn it, no, such a lead. And then Douglas Luiz misses the penalty. And I don't think I've seen a bigger celebration from a missed penalty in a regular time, of course, ever. And I don't think I've celebrated a missed penalty in the regular time more ever myself. And we go out of Villa Park having played Aston Villa out of the park. And then we come to Karaiskakis with a massive lead. I just want to take a step back and once again point out how, bar some exceptions, and I've said this before, every team has some dumbass fans. Bar some exceptions, the Villa fans that have followed me since then, the Villa fans that found my channel through the vlog, that is till now and will be for a while my most viewed video on this channel. I'm pretty sure it stands around 7,000 views by now, the Aston Villa vlog, because I did attend the second leg. And yeah, just another round of applause to the Aston Villa fans. That's been that have been the most respectful away fans that I've at least seen. And some, I dare say, good friends of mine from the show are now Aston Villa fans, and some of my biggest supporters are Aston Villa fans. And you all converted my co-host into being an Aston Villa fan. So that's also something. And we come here with our heads high, one of the best atmospheres I've ever lived through, have ever got to witness live. And we win 2-0. Another brace by Ayub El Kabi. Ayub El Kabi scoring 5 past the nominated and awarded best keeper in the world, which is the funniest thing ever, still to me. And the celebrations were insane. The stadium was insane. And as far as none of us could believe it, and I'm getting emotional even thinking back to how crazy I celebrated being in there. And after, we couldn't believe it, but we were in a European final. Of course, this show had started. I've talked about all of this at the very, very start of this show because the show started on the anniversary of the club, on the 99th anniversary of the club, at the 10th of March. And uh, and this game was fully covered. Of course, this game was May 9th. So roundabout on the day 2 months after the show had started. And it's insane that we're coming up on a year of this show, by the way. That's absolutely insane to me. And again, thank you all for everything. But there is gonna be a separate show for the 100th year anniversary of this club and the 1 year anniversary of this show on the same day. But yes, living on a dream, we then go and lose to Paul in Tuba. We then beat Arik 2-0 with two incredible goals from Andre Horta, and we draw to Panathinaikos. And that's the Superleague done. And then it's the game. Then the final of Olympiacos Fiorentina, the final that has given me some of the best memories of my life, the final that gave me one of the, and all of us, of course, one of the greatest and most crazy nights of our life. The final that gave me some of the best collabs, the first big collabs of this show with Tito from Viola Nation. I'll shout him and them out every chance I get. Go check them out. Go specifically check out our collabs and the recent interview I did with Tito, having him on for my Red Sea Chronicle series. And I think our collective heart rate hit a Guinness World Record that night. I think it's safe to say, with the game very close to being to going two penalties, and then that Esse cross happened, and one of the craziest headers I have ever seen from Ayub El Kabi, and it of course was gonna be Ayub El Kabi that scored our only goal in a European final ever, and the goal that could have won us our first European trophy. The goal that's going to be played for an eternity, whether that's in the commercial, whether that's uh, in our heads, whether that's in highlight videos we all post, or whether that's everywhere and anywhere. This game and this goal is going to be played for an eternity with joy from us and gonna be living rent free in the rivals' heads, especially Panathinaikos fans. And I had to get that in there. I apologize. And then I think it took us all summer to process what the hell happened, and that not only did we head into the Europa League without having to play qualifiers, but that we were, I'm losing my words even now, that we were European fucking champions. I still think I haven't processed it, and it's almost been a year. It's getting to a year. We're a couple of months away, which is insane in and of itself that it's almost been a year ever since that night. And no words can describe that night. None, any detail of that night. Just that clip from the goal and after. Fanelakis' commentary also can describe roundabout how we all reacted. The many photos, the many videos. You can also go check out my vlog, and at the moment of the goal, it is showing that strangers were hugging and embracing strangers. Strangers were singing with strangers, and everyone was suddenly the closest of friends and just singing together like they knew each other for years. The most insane atmosphere I've ever been in regarding anything sports, and one of the greatest nights of all of our lives. It would be safe to say. And then the chaotic summer that happened. I don't want to get into negatives now. Uh, on such a positive show. And then we start off the season facing Volos. Win. We then go on to Califea. Win. We then go on to Lamia. Win. And we start the season red hot. And then we play Panetolikos. And the faults just started to slowly show up. There were some complaints regarding transfers and performances. We all know what happened. We all know who left, who didn't. That's not off the point now. And we draw to Panetolikos. We then go on and lose to Aris. And then we go on and lose to Lyon. And stuff suddenly looked rough. Then the Atromitos game happens, and we once again saw a pulse. We're playing our football again and winning again. And then we go on to spank up Braga with Andre Horta getting a hero's welcome back home. Of course, now he's finally our player again. Then the usual happens and we draw to Panathinaikos. Then we draw to Levadiakos, and then we go up to Malmo and beat them. That's now 2 out of 3 and 2 unbeaten in Europe. We then take our last loss of the season up to now. That's Asteras away. Asteras that have been a pain in our ass this season, but that's a different story. And then the streak begins. Beating Califea, beating Panserikos, going on to draw with Rangers in a game that maybe we should have won, but that's different. Beating PAOK in the Babis Kostula show, killing Ike. Again, vlog in my channel. Please go check it out if you haven't. Drawing against Iowa. Very rough football. Maybe we should have won again, but again, very positive results. Still unbeaten. Beating Offi. Drawing against Califea in the round of 16 of the Cup. Beating Volos. Drawing against Vente. Third straight draw in Europe, but again, didn't cost us. And the defense is looking more and more amazing by the game. And I'm guessing that we don't talk about that game. Comment was about the 4-1, and oh, we will talk about the game. And when you're back on the show as well. uh, then we go on to draw to qualify in the Super League. And again, there's just a slight dip, but nothing to worry about. And we beat Lamia, beat Panathinaikos away, beat Aris, draw to Panathinaikos in the first leg of the quarters, uh, beat Atromitos. That the historic game, I think it's safe to call it historic. Our first win away in the Dragao, 1-0. Then we draw to Panathinaikos in that criminal game in the Super League. We then spunk Karabakh and celebrate another historic achievement of this club, qualifying straight to the round of 16 of the Europa League, in which we'll get our first glance in the knockouts of our possible opponents. Pretty sure it is tomorrow, don't quote me on that. We then go on to beat Levadiakos away, beat Panathinaikos with the Mouzakitis wonder strike uh, at the death that sends us to the semis. Then the last game, a draw against the Steras, which yes hurts, but isn't the end of the world. And we stand here first. Yes, on a +2, could it have been bigger? Yes, but we do stand here first in the round of 16, straight to the round of 16 of the Europa League, and in the semi-finals of the Cup, being in all of our targets, having two of our biggest talents in history come up and ball out with our academy products coming up and up, still with an endless supply of a golden generation. Just another shout to the boys killing it in the youth league. I will try and do a show for the game against Girona. And Mendy just showing us that he's a true blessing. To slowly close the show, 45 minutes is way better than I thought on how the show would go. I think we haven't seen the best yet with Mendilibar, and I can't wait to officially see the announcement of his renewal because Jesus Christ. On to bigger and better. I think that's the safest thing to say. Thank you all so much for watching once again this more special episode. If you're watching after and due to me streaming at the same time as Champions League games, thank you also for catching the show after, and I'll see you very soon on to bigger and better things for Olympiacos and on to bigger and better things for this show. Thank you.